Hello, everybody, and welcome to Qubit Confidential. It's a new podcast that takes a behind-the-scenes look at the quantum world. I ask experts to share their insight into how quantum technologies are reshaping everything from computing to cryptography and beyond. My guest today is Steve Suarez, CEO of HorizonX. Welcome, Steve, and thanks for joining me.
Thank you, Christopher. It's a pleasure to be here with you.
Delighted to be speaking to you. So let's start with a little bit of background and personal journey. As the global head of innovation at HSBC, you were an early adopter, right? You led several quantum initiatives. How did you get involved in quantum? And please share some examples of the work that you did in that role.
Yeah, it's kind of funny. There was a guy that was working there, and because I was the head of innovation, I had to look at all emerging technologies. And
Right.
he kept telling me, Steve, this thing called quantum, it's going to be huge. It's going to be great. And I was thinking, yeah, but what do I know about quantum mechanics? What do I know about all of this? And the more and more he kept talking to me, the more interested I got. And funny enough, he actually got asked to speak at a conference in France, and they actually were going to televise it.
Wow.
And as soon as he found out that they were going to televise it, he said, I can't do it, Steve.
Oh, no.
I need you to go and present on my behalf.
Oh, brother.
And anybody that knows me, I have no, I like presenting. I like talking. I like teaching people things.
Yeah.
And especially things that other people don't know about that I can actually, that light bulb goes off. I mean, that's kind of what drives my passion in innovation is really bringing new innovation, bringing new technologies. And so he asked me to do it in his behalf, and I was scared, Chris. It was funny because I'm like, I don't know anything about quantum. I'm going to get called out like 2 seconds into it. He goes, Steve, don't worry about it. I'm going to tell you exactly what to say. Don't deviate from this.
Oh, brother.
And just say these things. And as I was saying it and doing, because he was a great employee, by the way, I didn't want to lose him. And I was going to do whatever this guy said because he was fantastic.
Yeah.
And so I did exactly what he said. And it was funny because the response from the other participants, the response from the host, and the attention I got afterwards, everybody said, Steve, we want to interview you. We want to talk to you about it. It was great. What you said was enlightening about quantum. And I was thinking, oh my God, what did I get myself into?
You're on the hook now.
I'm on the hook. And so I'm not a big fake it till you make it kind of person. So that's when I decided to go back to school. And I went back and I looked on the internet for the best school to understand quantum. And MIT under Will Oliver had some fantastic courses.
Yeah.
And I was like, this is it. I'm going to go take these 4 courses. I'm going to learn about quantum.
Wow.
And so when I'm on stage or talking about quantum, at least I'll have some background. And I did. And those courses were incredibly difficult for me because they went right into the maths. And I wanted something that was more for executives because that's kind of what I teach. Actually, that experience opened a lot of opportunities, but I'm sure we'll cover that off. That got me in. I think that in the Nature magazine that Google published that achieved quantum supremacy in November 2019.
Yeah.
I got asked to speak to update a lot of boards about the technology, and they asked, "Is RSA broken, or is our security threatened?" And so I had to understand that so that I can go and explain it to others.
Yeah, that's a great story. I love that story. What about like initiatives too? Did you do other things to kind of get the quantum conversation started, BC?
Yeah, I mean, and again, since I left there, they've moved on and done some great stuff. But when we first started, we had a lot of interest, and because you're such a large organization, there's going to be people in that organization that have that history, that have that knowledge.
Yeah.
And one of the things that is important about innovation is being inclusive, going out and finding out what resources you have available to you and who wants to participate and who wants to get involved. And the good thing is we found a lot of people putting their hand up saying, I love this topic. I want to get involved. I want to give spare time to it. And so we had a lot of people volunteering their time to help other people understand, help structure things, help us figuring out where was the best applications for it. As it got serious and we wanted to get more engaged and we wanted to kind of get into more investments and create partnerships between academic, hardware, software companies, then we turned it into kind of a serious initiative. We put an executive sponsor on it and we put resource to it. And then we started hiring resource. to make sure we can give it the quality and the attention that it deserved. And since then, it's done really well. So I'm sure you've seen stuff in the news and
Yeah.
stuff that's been publicized that the company has done. So it's
Yeah.
great.
But kudos to you for getting it underway, getting it started. And a follow-on question is, so people, our viewers might be wondering, why would a big international bank be interested in quantum? So I wanted to ask if you could share your perspective on, the significance of quantum technologies, maybe to someone who's new to the field. Like, what is it? How might it impact their business model?
Yeah, it's a different way of computing, and financial services is always looking for how to do better risk management, how to make better decisions. They've got a plethora of information and they're finding ways, how do I actually make smarter decisions? And quantum computing has certain areas where it does very well, or it's promising to do very well, and other areas that classical computers will do better. So the important part is to understand, where do quantum computers have the ability to win, and
Yeah.
where should you keep doing the stuff that you're doing with classical computers? And the reality, it's going to be a hybrid. You're going to do both. And so understanding that was really good, and having other people understand that, understanding how quantum operates, how you have to get systems in place, how you have to get access to hardware, was a key part of it. And you're not going to do that just by talking about it or reading about it. This is about developing the muscle memory that an organization needs to be able to develop and use this technology. And so I knew we needed not to be talking about it. We needed hands-on experience, and we needed to fail and make some mistakes, and we needed to learn and make some good successes. And I think that's how you learn. And so by getting involved with the different communities, because each community provides great avenue for knowledge. You can look at the academic community, you could look at the kind of the industry, you could look at government, how all that plays together, and understand how do you progress that conversation forward. And so that was
Sure.
kind of our approach and looking at that.
Yeah. So let's drill down into that topic just for a moment. Like, so again, financial services, tremendous potential for benefit. What aspects of quantum technology have the potential for near-term disruption, maybe in other verticals, and which ones are we going to have to wait for maybe longer-term implications for value?
Yeah, I mean, I would think things around the optimization, anything that you're looking to optimize. And I could tell you, everybody on your call listening in right now has something to optimize, right?
Yeah.
And so anything, and you're looking about optimization. And the good thing is you can try these things out now. And even if you get incremental benefit now, you're developing the algorithms, you're developing the muscle memory, you're getting access to these machines.
Yeah.
If you wait until everything is ready, I use the analogy, it's like running a marathon. You don't show up the day of the marathon to run a marathon. You do a lot of training, you do a lot of eating right, health, and all this other stuff
Yeah.
before the marathon. So the day the marathon comes, you're prepared and you perform well.
Yeah.
This is not one of those things that you show up the day that it's active, that quantum becomes ready. Because the difference between this and something like AI was available to you and me, Chris. We could use, the chat GPT and all this other stuff day one. When it comes to quantum computing, the computing is going to be limited. The amount of resources will be limited. The knowledge, it's different and how it operates. And so people that are going to wait until it's ready, I believe, this is my opinion, will be at a disadvantage to the other people that have already started building the knowledge, the access, the talent
Okay.
to be able to do that. And so the important part is to understand, when do you think it's going to hit, and what do I need to do now to kind of meet that intersection. I talk about this in a course that I'm looking to launch at MIT here pretty soon. And that intersection is kind of where I think quantum's commercial value comes into play.
Yeah. And I want to talk about that in a moment. But let's shift gears and talk about HorizonX. So you
Yeah.
have initiated this tremendous company, HorizonX.
Thank you.
Your role as CEO with your team is looking to, explore ways to continue your, history of innovation. And over the past few years, you've certainly been very active in the quantum community. Can you describe more broadly your current role, if you will, as both speaker and moderator at events? You and I have done many of them together.
Yeah,
Wonderful
exactly.
experiences. But really, as a strategic advisor now in your new role to say companies like Quera or QSecure or Bain, tell me about what you're doing now with HorizonX.
So I've got the advisory part where I come in and help large organizations understand quantum and understand how to apply quantum. And I think I've got a different approach to a lot of companies that want to just come in and do a POC. I come in and educate and I help people understand what it is, what it isn't. I help demystify it so that you don't create a hype cycle that you spend all this money. I like getting value for money. So anything that I do or I provide my clients, I want them to say, wow, I just got a lot of value for what I put in. And so I expect it and I give it. And so it's important to make sure that you can have that balance. I think people that look to spend too much money, get involved too much, they set the wrong expectations. And if you're in an organization that's talking about getting an ROI from quantum right now, then you're not going to win this game.
Right.
This is a long-term play. There are certain benefits you can get to now, and I help my clients understand how do you get benefits and set the right expectations now, which are incremental benefits. But as these computers get better, the algorithms, the stuff you're building now starts to have that quadratic or exponential benefit that quantum promises to bring. So what I talk about is looking at two sides of the coin. You've got your quantum vigilance, which is looking at the outside market and
Right.
looking at how well these companies are doing from better qubits. You're always reading about error correction and how error correction is getting better. Obviously, with the announcement of Willow, and that's out of your control. That's what the outside market is doing, and that's what they're working on.
Yeah.
The stuff you have control, I call it quantum visioning. That's visioning. Assume that this technology is working today. What would I do with this technology, and how do I prepare myself now to use it? Where would I apply it? It's important to be disciplined. You don't want to scattergun and do 25 different POCs. I
Right.
would say find the best opportunity, break it down to one or two. That's where you need to focus your energy. You want small successes right now because as the computers get better, you'll start to see the benefit of it.
Yeah. So you're performing a lot of different roles, delivering a lot of value to a lot of different settings. I just want to take a step back and ask, what inspired you to create Horizon X? Like, how would you describe your mission, if you will, from
You,
working at a global bank?
the one thing I always enjoyed about innovation was getting that light bulb moment where people there it's kind of like I always said, it's kind of putting the glimmer back in people's eyes. Sometimes you go to work and there's the
Nice.
mundane over and over again, and then you bring a tool that completely changes their lives and they never go back to do the work that they used to do, and they're like, wow, this has been a game changer. And having a job to where you're meeting a lot of game changers. Some say they're game changers, but they're not. And some actually are really game changers. And
Yeah.
being ahead of that and playing around with that, it brings me joy because I feel like a kid in a candy store that, hey, I get access to the latest technologies, I get access to the greatest minds. I even get energized by seeing the energy of some of these young, creative, talent people solving old problems in new ways. And so to me, it's like being a sponge, and I enjoy that. And then the more enjoyable is once I learn it and I see it for myself, and I'm like, wow, this is going to be big. Sharing it with others is where
Yeah.
I feel like I have impact. And so the more I can get that message out, the more I can get that. That's where you have impact.
Yeah.
And I could tell you, Christopher, I've gotten a lot of messages in my career to where people said, Steve, I saw what you did in school, or I saw what you did here. It had an impact. It changed my life because I did X, Y, and Z. I get those from time to time. And actually, that motivates me. The fact that I actually have impact in other people's lives that I wouldn't even have known. But, other people are like, you motivated me to go back to school and learn about X, Y, and Z. So,
Yeah. No, that's great. I want to talk about you're sort of describing the broadly sort of partnerships, but it obviously takes a village to understand and adopt and embrace the value of any innovation and certainly new technologies. So, I want to get your sense of how Horizon X, you and your team, collaborate with, say, academic institutions, governments, other companies. What kind of strategies have you put together, strategic relationships, if you will, that you're focused on developing to drive the Horizon X mission?
Yeah, Christopher, I decided right now what I want to do is focus on the best and brightest companies who I think are very top notch and work with them. And if they want to work together, we can do a lot of stuff. And, going and working with MIT, for example, is one of those institutions that I always looked up at MIT as a young kid. And when I went and I wanted to truly educate myself in these emerging technologies, I went and at an older age and did some work, and it was good because they also saw the contribution that I provided. And actually, you could probably type in MIT Steve Suarez ACE, and you'll see me pop up on the front page talking
Cool.
about how much I enjoyed and how much a game changer learning was for me. I'm a big continuous learner.
Yeah.
Like I said, I'm a sponge. So being one thing most people know about, well, a lot of people know about me, but my close friends know about me is that I'm dyslexic. And so I learn in different ways. And so I
Yeah.
love learning things, but once I learn things, I feel like I can bring patterns together. I can see opportunities, and that helps me try to fill opportunities that I think are missing in the market.
Yeah. So let's talk about MIT. I know you and I have had this conversation, but I want to share with our viewers the fact that you've partnered now with Will Oliver. And just a sidebar, I give you credit for taking courses at MIT and you're not being age 19. I mean, good for you, man. Just saying. But anyway, you and Will have put together this course, right? Focused on sort of quantum for executives and business leaders.
Yeah.
Can you tell our viewers a little more about that? When it will be available? Maybe describe some of the content and tell our viewers how they can access it.
Yeah. Well, I wish it was available yesterday. I recorded the courses with MIT. The good thing about MIT is it really wants to give a great experience to their students,
Yeah.
and it wants to give you great content. And I've seen the content and I'm like, wow,
Well, it is
this is
MIT after all.
yeah, yeah. And even like the content that I've done, I'm like, "Oh, wow, they make me sound really smart." And, so I love it. They're fantastic. So the great thing about them is that they work on perfection and making sure sometimes for me being an entrepreneur, that also becomes the like, "Come on, guys, we gotta get this out there."
Well,
So,
great, the
um
enemy of the good or something, isn't it?
yeah, exactly.
Famous
So
book or whatever. Anyway.
so I've been threatening, I'm going to get this out there. I'm going to get this out there. We're just finishing up. We have companies that we interviewed. We're reviewing those videos. We're hoping that we're hoping by February we'll have something out there so people can start pre-registering. But I would say if I were a betting person, it's looking like March right now. But I'm trying to. I'm going to be at Davos next week, so I really wanted to push it at Davos. I will push a landing page. Maybe we'll share it with your viewers
Yeah.
where they can register and get a discount.
Okay.
Being kind of one of the first people, I'll share that with you, and then maybe coordinate it with the International Year of Quantum here in Paris in February, early February.
Right. Tell me a little bit more about the content. Though. Just again, you and I discussed this a little bit. Very
Yeah,
exciting. The sort of x-axis, y-axis parameters. You mentioned it earlier in our call here, but
yeah.
just give our viewers a sense of that, even just that aspect of it. I think it's fascinating.
Yeah, no, you know what? I think so. The course is meant to fill a gap that I saw when I started educating myself. I think there was a lot of really good content on quantum, but it was really technical and it dove in really deep into the maths. And so what I
Right.
wanted to do was work with MIT to create a course that executives could consume at their own pace. So you don't have to follow a certain time period or follow the rest of the class. You consume it at your own pace. We wanted to do it anywhere between 4 and 6 hours. We tell you down to the basics, the 101s about quantum. We tell you what it is, what it isn't. We tell you about where the opportunities are, where the threats are. We
Yeah.
talk to you about the different modalities. And a lot of people are surprised when they hear, oh, there's different people trying to solve this in different ways.
Right.
And we kind of explain, and we let the companies explain them to themselves on what superconducting is and how that works, what trapped ions are, what neutral atoms are, and all that. And so
Yeah.
we explain that because I think that's very important. People don't really understand that. They just see the chandelier and they think, oh, that's the quantum computer. And they
Right.
come in different forms. So I think that, which I think is cool. But then I get into talking about how do you create a strategy? How do you create an approach? How do you educate yourself first? If I ask you to invest in quantum right now, you're going to be a bit reluctant. But if I ask you to invest in education, that's a little bit easier for me to come in the door,
Yeah.
educate you,
Yeah.
so that you can now make educated decisions on your decisions on quantum, right?
Yeah.
And so
Yeah.
everybody's hearing about quantum, but do a lot of people really understand what it is and how to apply it? And so I'm hoping to fill that gap through MIT. They get the benefit of the MIT brand. They get the benefit of getting a certificate from MIT at the end of it.
Yeah.
And if I can help in a broader way, it actually kind of gets that message out there for me.
Yeah. And I look forward to seeing that. Again, we'll put the URL in the comments, and I'll post when I post it on LinkedIn. We'll make sure that people are pointed in the right direction for that course.
Thank you,
Very
Christopher.
exciting, man.
Thank you.
So let's take a step back and ask about advice, right? Again, we've sort of been talking about innovation and quantum and adopting new technologies, the threats and the benefits. But I would ask you, again, as a thought leader in this space and business executive and running a CEO running a consulting company focused on leading edge tech solving business problems, what advice would you give to organizations looking to exploit specifically the tremendous potential of quantum technologies? Like, where
Yeah.
should they start?
Without a doubt, education. And if you can educate at the higher levels, even better. Because I was mentioning earlier, a lot of companies go in and say, hey, let me come in and do a POC with you. And sometimes they go to a middle management person, and the
Yeah,
POC might be fabulous. It might be fantastic. But now that middle manager has to go up the ranks and sell everybody at every level above them to
right.
say, hey, look at what I've done, look at what we can do. And everybody's got their own priorities and they got their own issues going on. And so
Sure.
my approach is kind of make that middle manager's life better by saying, I'm going to focus on your board member because I sit on boards myself. I know what board members are interested in. I could tell you that everybody expects board members to know everything. And the reality is, with emerging tech, not every board member knows everything. I'll just give you a secret that, and so instead of me kind of, pointing out that not everybody knows about quantum or AI or stuff like that, my job is to say, hey, let me update you, board members, on these latest emerging technologies.
Yeah,
And my goal is to become like their trusted partner. So, Christopher, if I had a question, and you obviously are so knowledgeable about so many different things, and I knew and I trusted you, I'd come to you without any problem. And so, what I'm looking to do is
yeah,
be able to be that person for other board members and other organizations so that they come to me for advice so that I can help them through this process.
yeah.
I've got the battle wounds and the battle scars to they don't have to go through that process.
Right.
And I can help kind of speed things up, which saves them money, saves them time.
Yeah,
But because I know a lot of people in the industry, I can pull from all the different relationships, all the different companies that I know, and I can pull the best and brightest out of all of them to come up with some really cool solutions. Because I don't know that there's one company out there that has all the solutions for everybody, but I can tell you there are some amazing companies that playing together could have revolutionary impact on companies.
yeah. Well, you bring a unique value prop. I mean, as a executive and as an educator, the connections with MIT, it's fantastic.
Yeah.
So, closing thoughts. I want to ask you about quantum tech. You've been a great supporter of quantum tech. You and I have
Yes.
seen each other at many events and worked together there. What's your take on the value? What makes being at quantum tech a valuable event or activity?
Well, we were talking about education. I could tell you, I go to conferences to where I go to a conference and I hear the same things over and over again. And Quantum Tech's one of those conferences that I go to and I listen to the speakers, and I'm always enlightened by the level of speakers that are there, what they're working on, and the networking. So we talk about how do you get exposure into quantum? Guess what? Go to this conference, meet the leaders, talk to them. Everybody's the industry is so like new in my mind that everybody's so approachable. Everybody, wants to tell you their story. And so if you have the curiosity and you have the time, there's no better time to be in quantum. Come to these conferences. I could tell you that everybody would love to tell you about their solutions, what they're working on, how they can help you, and use that as education. You're getting educated. And I think quantum tech is really good. It kind of mixes the education side of it, the network side of it, the fun side of it, and the stuff that they do. They go to different locations. I've been to many of the locations, so those guys do a really good job at bringing the right talent together and hearing kind of the latest information in quantum.
Yeah. Well, Steve, thank you very much. We've come to the end of our conversation. I want to thank you for joining me today. I really enjoyed speaking with you, and I look forward to seeing you in person again, probably in London, maybe in March.
Oh, good. I'll definitely see you.
Okay.
Christopher, thank you for having me, and it's been a pleasure. And as always, I know you and I met on a panel many years ago.
We did.
Keep looking, join different panels with you. So thank you very much.
Yes. Thanks very much. I invite listeners to follow Steve and HorizonX on LinkedIn to stay informed of his latest innovative activities and travels. He's at many events and writes really astute, interesting pieces about people he meets and activities he attends and speakers that he hears from. I also encourage you to share this podcast with your social channels to increase the impact of my conversation with Steve. Don't forget to subscribe so you don't miss an episode of Qubit Confidential. Please follow quantum.tech on X, formerly Twitter, and on LinkedIn as well. And mark your calendars for Quantum Tech USA, which returns to Washington, D.C. on April 14th through the 16th, 2025. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you all at our next session.